Good evening. Welcome to the Laverne Board of Zoning Appeals. The meeting September 26, 2017. Regular meeting 5:30 p.m. We'll call the meeting to order. We do have a full board, so we definitely do have a quorum. The first item is to approve the minutes of our August 29th regular meeting. Have all the members of the board have a chance to go over the minutes?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as submitted.
We have a motion to accept the minutes. Do we have a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed? Minutes are approved as presented. We have both old business and new business tonight. The first item of old business is special exception to allow automobile sales requested by Kevin Berta, property located at 409 Dick Buchanan Street. It's light industrial zoning district, parcel owned by Express Recycling Group, Limited Liability Corporation. May we have the report, please, Mr. Logan?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is proposing to conduct automobile sales at this location at 409 Dick Buchanan. And as you mentioned, the property is zoned light industrial I-1. And per section 5.054.1 C2 of the City of Laverne zoning ordinance, commercial uses as permitted in a C1, C2, C3, or C4 zoning district are uses permitted as special exceptions in an I-1 district. And furthermore, section 5.053.2 of the ordinance outlines the permitted uses that are allowed within C2 district. And in that long list, number 18 is automobile sales. And so this request would be suitable to be heard as business at the Board of Zoning Appeals. And in the time, and it's been quite a while that it's been posted, staff has received no telephone calls. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a representative here?
Yes, sir.
Would you step forward, please? Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Would you state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Kevin Berta. You want the business address or my personal address?
Personal address, please?
My personal address is 830 Fall Creek Road in Lebanon.
In Lebanon, okay. You heard the report. Do you have anything to add?
Well, it's not that we want to actually do car sales like a traditional car lot. Mr. Tomlin, who passed away coming up on 2 years ago, he bought that as a salvage yard in 2001. In 2003, he attained a dealer's license in order to attend dealer-only auctions so that he could purchase cars that actually ran and drove for the part sales usage. We've had that license since 2003. When we went to change the licensure ownership from Tim Tomlin Express Auto Recyclers to Express Recycling Group doing business as Express Pull and Save, the state said we had to have basically a whole new packet. The change of ownership forms for the state are the same as a new dealership requirement. So when we went to put the packet together, one of the things it asked for was a zoning letter. Back in 2003, when Mr. Tomlin started doing that business, there was not a zoning letter requirement. So we've had a license there for 14 years. The state has allowed us to go through this process and kept the license active. So we still have the old license active because we carry what they call the minimum bid at 3 different dealer-only auctions, so that every car starts at a minimum number, allowing us to buy cars and allowing the auctions to go out and talk to their customers, hey, look, if you bring it here, I've got a guy that'll give you this guaranteed minimum. So we don't intend to do like a traditional car lot where we put cars out there with stickers and banners and things like that and do them for sale. We only use it for we use it 99% of the time for purchasing power, and then we will sell on occasion a car to an employee, or we will sell a car to one of our customers that comes in that's either a dealer or a wholesaler. They'll say, hey, look, you picked that car up at the auction that I don't go to, can we buy that? So we don't actually display cars in the parking lot with for sale signs. We had someone do that and it didn't even work for us. And I talked to the codes director and said, hey, look, I don't know what I need to do, but this guy's put his cars in our parking lot and we can't find him. So we actually got someone to run his license tag on one of the cars, or the VIN, and found the guy because he was selling cars out of our parking lot at night.
What do you do, cannibalize the cars mainly for parts?
Yeah, what we do is we put the cars out for some of them we just crush, but some of those that we buy that run and drive at those dealer-only auctions, we'll actually write on the glass runs and drives so that our customers know that when they come to buy a part, whether the car ran and drove. We do sell quite a few engines and transmissions. So we don't really use the license very much. I think we buy on average 12 to 1,400 cars a month, and last year I think we sold 70 cars total out the door, so to speak. But none of those were put in the parking lot with for sale signs on them. There was no advertisement on the on the front of the business. We just have to meet all the state requirements. The state doesn't see a dealer's purchase license for one of us. They give us a dismantler's license or a scrap dealer's license, but that doesn't grant us access to those auctions. So we have to get that dealer's license, and unfortunately, for the state, they see us no different than they see like Tinkham Auto Sales or any other car lot for licensure purposes.
Okay. Any board members have any questions?
Isn't just the fact that you said if you sell more than so many cars a year, you are required by law to actually have that license?
Yes, ma'am. If
Okay.
we purchase those cars at those auctions, if they granted us special access under our dismantlers or scrap dealer's license, I'm only allowed to sell 5 of those cars. So if I want to sell any more than 5 of those cars whole to a customer or to an employee, I actually have to have a dealer's license. But I can't get into, there's at least 2 auctions that I can't get into, and those are 2 of the auctions that we buy probably, between the 2, probably 35% of our cars. For us to not be able to transfer this license to the new ownership would be pretty detrimental to our purchasing power.
Okay, thank you.
What size area are you referring to for having these cars?
None. They're going to be in the back like they are now. We're not going to have these cars out for display. I'm basically asking for the exemption for the office so that I can continue the dealer's license inside the building. We don't intend to put cars in the parking lot and advertise. We have to meet, I think it's an 18-car requirement. We have to be able to display 18 cars to get the license. We don't ever have to display any cars, though, to get the license. We just have to have adequate parking space and adequate display space to meet the state's requirement for the existing license.
But for our requirements for the city, if you're selling the cars as you plan to do, you must have a dustless surface for that area and car parking spaces provided.
No, I'm not selling those like you're talking about. What we're selling is, we don't, most of those cars that we sell don't even come to the yard.
I understand. I'm just ruling our rules and regulations. Let me read them to you. Maybe you've not read them. But reading from page 102, parking space requirement, and this is just parking space requirement. In addition to revisions of this ordinance regulated parking, the following shall apply. Each parking space shall be approximately marked and painted lines or curbs, number 1. Another requirement that you have to meet is on the landscaping and access to the lot.
I'm not going to have a lot.
Let me finish. The requirement of the front yard extending from the front lot line shall be maintained permanently open. Landscape area broken only by permitted driveways. So just be aware, if you put in the back of the lot, from our rules and regulations, the public's meant to have access to walk through it.
I don't sell to the public.
Okay.
Can I ask a question real fast?
I'm using this license for purchasing power. That's it.
I understand that, but we're here to look at your review and look at your application, but we also have to meet our guidelines of our regulations for the city. Obviously,
Okay.
you have to handle the state too. I'm just explaining some of the items that you have a conflict with that obviously is against our regulations.
Right,
May
and
I
I
ask
understand
a que-
that, and
may
we
I
looked at
ask-
that, and I asked a couple questions about that. The reason we're asking for the exemption or the appeal is because we don't intend to use any of that portion where that applies. All of that we don't meet, that we don't meet for what we do, we don't use that portion of the license. We don't display cars for purchase for public. I don't advertise for purchase to cars for the public. We don't do any advertising at all. None. We don't do any displaying at all. So all the criteria that we don't meet is in the display portion of the license. We just primarily use it for the purchasing usage. That's why we ask for the exemption. Otherwise, we would go through the process of quote unquote putting a dealership in there. I don't want a dealership in there. It would grossly impact in a negative way what we do for a primary business, which is sell parts. Because selling of cars would take up those spaces like you're talking about. If paving it in green space would take away from my customer parking for part sales, which is our primary business.
May I ask a question that might clarify some things for people? We didn't get to really drive by there if we didn't have our packets on time, but I've been by there to buy parts before. And if it's the same place I'm thinking about that Mr. Tomlin used to own, it's on Dick Buchanan, and as you come off Murfreesboro Road, you come on down, it's on the left-hand side.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, does it not have a paved, it seemed like to me,
The entrance is
it had a
paved.
paved entrance with a large parking area.
The entrance is paved, but the entire parking lot is not paved.
Okay, I don't remember it being that way. And I remember you could go one way or the other if you wanted to go get your own parts.
You can. Each entrance is paved. Now, in the scrapyard, the whole section is paved, but it has a screen on it so that you can't see in with the gates closed, or you can't see in except for if the gates are open. The pull and save, where the licensure is currently at and has been since 2003, the entrance is paved, and I believe it's 50 feet wide. And then the rest of the parking lot is either gravel or exposed rock, stone, because the ground rock is actually exposed in a large portion of that parking lot.
Okay, it's been a couple of years, but it seemed like because I hate to drive on gravel, but it seems like when I went in there, I didn't drive on gravel.
It's a very thin layer of gravel because it literally sits on bedrock that's exposed. When the pond was put in the parking lot, it had to be jackhammered in order to be installed because it sat on basically solid surface rock.
Because it seemed like you had a great big open area in front of the building.
We do.
And-
It'll hold 85 customer cars.
Okay. All right. And how much of that area did you say is paved?
Probably 20%. I believe 20% of that is paved.
Did our city planner, did you look at it? Do you know how much of that area approximately is paved in the front?
Because it's not a site plan submittal, there's no way for me to know. I mean,
I just can't see me walking
I
or
see what you're
driving
saying,
on
but-
gravel.
Ma'am, you wouldn't really know it's gravel because it's, like I said, it's such a thin, the only gravel that's in there is in between the bedrock where there's loops or dips in the bedrock, so we filled that in and had it compacted. It almost drives like you're on a paved surface, but it's not paved.
Okay.
Most of your business is selling cars, scrap parts of it?
The majority of our business is in the pull and save, is the selling of scrap parts. We put out about 1,420 cars on the lot after we drain the fluids, and then the customers come pull their own parts. It's basically it's a retail self-service used auto parts. It's the overwhelming majority of the revenue that is done.
I know that a lot of the auto body places and auto parts places that fix cars around here, they go get parts there because they've got some parts, they ordered parts for my car from there, and I've gone by there to pick up parts for another friend's car there.
We'll do, on a Saturday or Sunday, we'll do between 500 and 600 customers. During the week, we do between 200 and 300 every day.
But there was a building there, it was like a big open building office, and it had clerks in there doing their stuff, and it just seemed like I didn't drive on gravel, but it's been 2 years too.
You want to pursue it?
No, I mean, I've had my say. I'm still concerned about meeting the other requirements that we have, and you know, I understand what he's trying to do, but I don't think that they're meeting the requirements as far as the parking spaces and the landscaping, as well as the dust of service.
I wish we had pictures.
And we've been doing it since 2003.
Do you have any pictures?
No, ma'am. I gave the submittals that I was asked to give a month and a half ago. I just missed last month's meeting because I thought it was on Thursday and it was actually on Tuesday.
My understanding is you're asking for a permit, and the permit that you're asking for, under the requirements of our directives here, requires a dustless surface. And that's the problem.
I understand that. What I'm asking to do is to continue to do what I've been doing since 2003. Since 2003, Mr. Tomlin has had a dealer's license, primarily used for the purchase of dealer-only auction cars. I would like to continue doing that at the dealer-only auctions.
It could.
I don't intend to change anything else. I don't intend to do any of the items that you have opposition to. The dustless surface is not used. We're not parking cars out there. We park customers' cars out there now to come buy parts. We park employee cars out there to come buy parts. We don't intend to display cars in a dustless surface to keep the cars to meet that criteria. We don't intend to, we have limited green space there because it's never had green space. I'm not asking you to do anything I haven't been doing since 2003. I just have to have a letter so I can change the ownership through the state.
Understand.
So that I can do that. I'm not looking to change, I'm certainly not looking to display cars and put up a car lot and banners and compete with all the other guys that have car lots. We're not. We're just trying to keep something we've had for 14 years
Can I ask
intact.
the attorney a question, please?
Sure.
I want to ask you, because the previous owner has passed away, and I know that he used to run that business that way. In fact, my mother bought a car from him in 2006. Is that not a grandfathered in status? Even though as long as it stays operating, even after
That would be
the,
something we'd have to look into further. I'd have to know some more of the facts going on and
Yeah.
what was in place at the time.
it was the same thing that was in place, but the owner died, and I didn't know what happened to it after he died, but I guess they.
It sat in probate for over a year, and then it finally got purchased by employees that work there in June of this year.
Yeah, if that's
The
something,
license is still intact.
if that's something the board would like me to look into and defer this item, I can certainly look into it
I
further
would-
and get with city staff. I'd also note though, when you, in granting permits and special exceptions, I believe, and Kyle, you can correct me or Bo if I'm wrong, but, that you can put certain limitations, I would think, on this, and to contour it, narrow it to exactly what is specifically allowed and not allowed under the special exception permit, because I understand the city's concern maybe that if the gentleman sells the property, it wouldn't want some other owner to come in and just start putting 50 cars out on a non-dustless surface. But again, if you want me to look into that legal question, I'm happy to do that. Unfortunately, I would need some time to be able to research that.
Right, because I think, I'm not a lawyer, but it seems like that would actually fall under the grandfather status, even though it was tied up in probate.
Again, I'd have to look into that.
As long as the license was kept active and transferred and,
Yeah, the license is still active, and the state has a note in their file that says they're waiting for a completed packet for new submission to change the ownership status behind it.
Okay, I'm going
We
to,
do a lot of business.
excuse me, I'm going to close the discussion on this now. Sir, I can't speak for the rest of the members without taking a vote, and what I'm going to do is make a statement here. I perceive that if I ask for a vote right now, it may be voted down. And in courtesy to you, to avoid that, I'm going to ask if you would like to have this vote delayed until the next month meeting. Also, we did not have the packets early enough to actually go out there and take a look at the property. So we have not had a chance to look at the property. We don't have any photos to look at. We want to be clear about this. We want to make an informed decision both for you and for the city. So I suggest that we defer this until next month to make a decision, give us, each board member a chance to go out and look at the property and review the codes and take care of it in that manner.
And how about checking the grandfather status on?
And the city attorney here will check the grandfather clause too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let the record show that petitioner agrees with that, and with that, we will defer this for 1 month. The second item of business is old business, appeal of the decision of the building official requested by Carlos Adana, property located at 302 South Lake Court, R3 High Density Residential Zoning District, parcel owned by Jorge Adana. Would make report, please, Mr. Logan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This request has some history behind it, and so I want to mention that first and foremost before we get started. This address, which is 302 South Lake Court, was approved. I put in the report sometime around 2016. I think it was January, February of 16, so it's getting close to 2 years ago. They were approved for a carport, is my understanding. And someone from the building department had been on site, I guess, to do an inspection or whatnot, and then discovered that what these pictures are showing, which is it may not be a carport. So basically, and I wasn't here. I think a stop work order was placed on this. I'm not sure, but and so now they're basically needing to request an appeal from the building department. This property is zoned R3, high density residential, and it has been posted a while, and staff has not received any phone calls to date. Thank you.
Kyle, could you give us more information? Do you have more information you can provide for that?
Pretty much from what I understand from Randolph is this applicant had received a permit to install a carport, and upon one of the inspections that's been called in, the inspector went out and seen that it's not really a carport, it's a garage. So Randolph, is that pretty clear as to what's really going on? That's where we're at. It's basically enclosed on all four sides. It has a garage door on the front and then a side entry pedestrian door.
And it comes to this board as opposed to the planning commission?
It's an appeal. Because the decision of the building official is it's not a carport like applied for.
Board members have any questions?
Yes, I'm not showing in the pictures that I have where it's enclosed on the sides. I see where there's framing.
Excuse me, I'll go back up a little bit. Is there a representative here? Would you take the podium, please? Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, not but the truth, so help you God. State your name and address, please, for the record.
My name is Carlos Aldana, 302 South Lake Court, Laverne.
You heard the report. Do you have
Yeah.
anything to add?
I guess when we started trying to get the permits, I don't know if we down the street in Mulford Road where you can sell all the buildings or the carport. Well, the first time I went over there and get the price for a carport, and it was enclosed carport. That's what the guy told me. So that's what I applied for the permit on carport. So when I built in, and the inspector showed up and he said they need to stop because carport, they don't got no walls. So, and yes, all the steel is kind of heavy. It's not like those carport and over there like $1,000 or $1,200, something like that. That's all. And it's about more than a year that I'm trying to get this one down.
What are the measurements of this building?
It's 20 by 25.
Is that picture how it looks now?
Yes, sir. Yes, like that. And I got the permit for the driveway.
Any other questions for the board?
What's this stuff hanging off the front of it? This picture? Yeah, that picture. Is that just,
What is what?
it's some kind of,
Hanging?
yeah.
That's the insulation. The vinyl for the insulation. They already cut it. It's not hanging anymore.
Are you planning on putting walls on the sides?
Yeah. Well, when I get the first time when I get the permits, there was a lady first time, and I sent pictures to her how it's gonna look outside. So, I still use the same siding outside.
Did you asked her for a carport and not a garage?
I asked him for a carport, yes. But when the lady asked me for how it's gonna look like, I sent pictures to her, and
Did it look like this, or did it look like
it
a
looked
garage?
like, yes, it looked like that.
This looks like it could be a carport or an unfinished garage to me. So I'm not getting where someone saw, was there a garage door or something that I've missed?
Well, you can see that the door is framed in.
During construction, and I was here when you applied for the variance for the carport setback, it was presented to us at the time as an aluminum frame, steel frame, whatever you want to call it, open on three sides. when one of my inspectors went out and came back, he said, I think we need to go out and take a closer look at this because it's shaping up to be more like a garage than carport. And what we perceive to be a traditional carport, this is not in line with what, I mean, obviously this is gonna be enclosed on all four sides with a roll-up door, garage door, some type of door, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there's also a pedestrian door into the garage, in and out of the garage, if I'm not mistaken, other than just the roll-up door. The
Yeah,
garage-
so,
So with that being said, it's enclosed on four sides, it's gonna be an enclosed garage rather than what we were kinda led to believe was just gonna be a freestanding carport.
Could this pass, if it was cleaned up, could this pass as long as the sides and the front were not enclosed as a carport? Would it pass?
Well, I mean, if you're gonna put a roll-up door and enclose all four
No,
sides.
not put, if he didn't put all that on there, if he didn't put the front and the door and the
It would be
sides.
one well-framed-in carport,
Okay,
but I think the intent, again, is that it would be enclosed on all four sides. And there'll be no way we'll know whether or not it's enclosed on all four sides once it's finished. I mean, it's lending itself, shaping itself to be a garage, and that's not what was asked for in that,
can you see it from the roadway?
not once it.
In
no,
case he were to go
there's
ahead
another
and-
picture, if you will, Bo, that shows it from the street.
down up from the road.
I mean, that's what you'll see from the street. Obviously, you know, I mean, they can attach something in that gable, on that gable end to, you know, enclose the roof, I guess, so to speak, and have it open on three sides, but
And was this put through the BOZA or through planning?
it was presented through BOZA, for a setback variance. It's on a corner of South Lake and Gale.
So I recall it. Mr. Chairman, I think, again, we need to look back at the minutes from that meeting.
As a matter of fact, Mr. Coach, not to interrupt, but I believe it was you that said he wanted to put a driveway in.
Yep.
So he made an application for a driveway permit. We went out to see if in fact he could have a second driveway, which was no problem, and it was deferred by you on the account that if he were able to get that driveway to that, because you'd asked how he would access that, and it was that he would come off of Gale
Go lane.
into the property. And then the applicant applied for a driveway permit, which was approved and granted, in that he had the road frontage that would allow him a second driveway on that side, as his driveway that serves the dwelling comes off of Gale, or South.
Yeah.
But so then, I'm just going back to recollection here. So during the meeting was discussed, and we didn't look at the minutes, was it presented as it's presented today, or was it presented as an aluminum-sided building?
Presented as more of an aluminum lightweight carport, open on three sides, so that I think he had an antique car or a car that he wanted to put undercover. Well, like I say, this is definitely undercover. And it's gonna be one of the most well-built carports you've ever seen. But the intent, we feel like, is that it's gonna be closed in on four sides, therefore more in line with a garage than a carport. And a carport was what was approved, and therefore we felt like that it would be in his best interest to bring it back to this board as a garage, because, you know, if somewhere down the road it's determined that it's not a garage, or not a carport, but more like a garage, closed on four sides, roll-up door, pedestrian door, everything a garage would have, versus a carport.
Okay, let me ask a couple questions. Is it your intent to convert that to a regular garage? You're gonna close the sides and the overhead door and pedestrian door, you want it to be a garage?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so we can forget carport then. Okay. So let's look at it as a garage then.
But also, if it was presented to us as a carport last year, there was obviously recalls when I was making some discussion about some items, we need to look at those to see, you know, how that falls in to whether it does or doesn't meet it. And then look at this application and see what we can do to get it satisfactory.
Well, it says here that the applicant wishes to deviate from the approved plan for his residential lot, so that
I
means,
understand that, but what was deviation? Yeah.
and we don't have the minutes.
No.
Okay. So you're recommending then that we,
I would like to do some further research. I would like to have the minutes presented, let us all look at them, because we were all involved with it. We can make a decision from there. Okay. Is it, can you put them up there, or can you print them out? Okay. I just want to, can you just read out what was said, just so we, is that possible?
All right. Item 2 from that time was front building setback variance for proposed carport addition requested by Carlos Aldano, property located at 302 South Lake Court, tax map 18C, Group B, parcel 3, 0.29 acres, R3 high density residential zoning district, parcel owned by Carlos Aldano. And Ms. Costanzo's report was explained that the applicant is requesting a variance for a proposed carport addition for his home. She stated that the lot is irregularly shaped and it is a double frontage lot because it faces South Lake and Gale. She stated that the setback line is 35 feet from both roads. She stated that the applicant wants to build an attached carport to provide additional storage. She stated that because of the double frontage lot, a small front corner of the new carport will sit over the front setback a little less than 5 feet. She stated that all the other requirements for the R3 district will be maintained. She stated that the side setback of 10 feet will be maintained. She also stated that due to the small size of the lot, the double frontage, it's staff's opinion that it will not be injurious to the harmony of the surrounding parcels. She stated that the carport will match the house. Also, she stated that she received 3 phone calls and all 3 were in favor of the request. Chairman Carter swore in Mr. Aldano. Chairman Carter asked how far the carport will come forward toward the street beyond the front of the house. Mr. Aldano stated the carport would be 30 feet from the street. Mr. Perkins stated that the carport will sit behind the front of the house. Vice Chairman Coates asked if the applicant would use the existing driveway to access the carport. Mr. Aldano stated no, that it would be necessary by Gale Lane, accessed by Gale Lane. Vice Chairman Coates asked if he would have 2 entrances. Mr. Aldano stated yes.
Is it the size of the carport mentioned in there?
Hold on just a moment, sir. I'm not used to this laptop, so I may have skipped something there, but Ms. Costanzo explained that well, let me finish if I may. Ms. Costanzo explained that the applicant is in the process of negotiating a potential sale of the business. I've jumped up somewhere here. Okay. Here we go. No more. Yep. Vice Chairman Coates states, thank you, sir, stated that he feels the 2 driveways presents an issue. He stated that he doesn't have a problem with the carport itself, but the 2 entrances are a problem. Mr. Perkins asked if the carport was going to be used for storage or for a car. Mr. Aldano stated a car. Chairman Carter asked if there was a way for the carport to go on the other side of the house. Mr. Aldano stated that there is not enough room because of the side setback line. Mr. Perkins asked if there was a restriction on having 2 driveways. Kyle Brown stated that if he was to put in a driveway, he would have to apply for a permit through codes, and they would have to make sure that it complies with all requirements of the code. He stated that this request is just for the carport alone, and it's not approving a driveway. He stated that if he gets approved for the carport, he would have to go to code to pull the permit and pull a permit for the driveway. Chairman Carter stated that he might want to get permission from codes before he went to the expense of putting a carport up, and then found out he couldn't use it. Mr. Aldano stated that he was going to apply for the driveway, and if it's okay, then build it, and if the answer is no, there is no reason to put it up. Vice Chairman Coates stated that it might be better to find out if the driveway is going to work first. Chairman Carter asked if it would be okay to defer this item. Mr. Aldano, where we go? Just touch it. Mr. Aldano stated that he was going to apply for the driveway, and if it's okay, then build it. If the answer is no, yada, yada. I've read that. Chairman Carter asked if it would be okay to defer this item, so Mr. Aldano would go to the codes to see if it's okay to get the second driveway. He stated that if they grant the permission, then he can come back and discuss the carport. He asked if Mr. Aldano is okay with that. Mr. Aldano stated yes. The item was deferred. There was no action.
There's another meeting that the item was deferred.
Did they get a permit for the driveway? Did they come back?
They did. We
They
went
did
out
get
and
the permit?
inspected the site, and it met all the requirements to have the second driveway. The second driveway was permitted.
Question, is there any way to limit him, but he wants to change it to a garage, so we gotta decide on it. He does the driveway, if we're gonna allow that to be a garage there, right?
If I may interject, what I understand from speaking with the codes officer is that the action that's been appealed is, I think, his stop work order.
It was.
Placed down on the carport / garage since he felt it didn't comply with what was originally done. The applicant has appealed the decision of the stop work order. So if this board wants to uphold the code enforcer's decision, they would make a motion to uphold his order stopping the work on that carport of the garage. Otherwise, if they don't want to uphold it, they can reverse him, and this gentleman can continue to build whatever he's building.
But legally, doesn't he need to come before us and get permission to
I think
do a
that
garage?
If this is going to be a garage, this might be a question for Kyle Coates or Bo, but it might be site plan. If the site plan is an accessory structure of some kind, I'm not sure, but I'm not sure that would be in the purview of Boza.
If, depending on the size, if it's an accessory structure, but I mean, this is connected. Is it connected or is it totally separate?
It's detached.
It is detached.
I mean, it butts up to the house, but it in and of itself is a detached.
If it falls in the requirements of a site plan, then yes, it'd have to go through planning. But there again, we still be where we're at to begin with at this board is they got a variance, or he got a variance for a carport in the setback, and we have now a garage in the setback, so it's gonna have to be up to this board to decide whether or not the garage is gonna be allowed, or is he gonna have to stick to a carport? And I think more likely what the codes is looking at is y'all approved a carport, probably thinking it would be something that could be moved in the future, or, you know, not as permanent of a structure as what this is becoming, so.
They can be moved just with screws. I mean, same thing of the carport is made about, everything's put together by screws. This one
It
the
can be
same thing.
moved, we're just saying that if it was a carport, it could be moved a whole lot easier than what this is gonna be.
Seems to
This
be a
is a
lot of
heavy steel
difficulty getting
structure.
buildings moved in this city. Would you not rather go through the proper channels just to get permission to have this as a garage, since that's what you want to make it, and avoid any kind of future problems?
Proper channels on,
Just go through whatever motions, legal motions we have to have for you to have it approved as a garage, since it kind of deviated from the plan for a carport.
okay.
Because I don't know,
I think that's really part of what this request would be is, would you revise the previous variance of being a carport to stating that, yes, the garage is allowed? Because clearly, you know, if you're appealing the decision of that it's a carport or not, you've done stated that this is a garage and you're wanting to pursue this as a garage. So I think that's already answered, that there is really no appeal to be heard.
would the
It's-
setback lines for a carport still be the same on an irregular lot as they would for a garage?
Yes, you would end up with the same variance, it's gonna be a garage that is allowed as a
So it's
variance
just
as
the
opposed to a
wording,
carport.
what
Yes,
the
so it's the
building
wording of what the structure is.
And was the carport presented as a 20 by 25?
Yeah. I mean, it's just like it is now, and I'm not gonna change nothing. If they let me finish, I only gotta do is put the siding.
So what's your suggestion then? You come up with a site plan for the garage?
No, he keeps, a site plan, I don't think it's gonna have to go back to basically as a new submittal, as a new variance request.
That's what I was going to suggest, is if it doesn't warrant any sort of site plan, and instead is simply just requesting that this board grant a variance for him to have a garage. Right now, that there is no application for a variance to have a garage there, I mean, in my eyes.
All right, and we're here tonight was to appeal the decision that this is a carport or is this a garage, and that's the decision of the building official, is that it is a carport. He put a stop work order because this board granted a variance for a carport, not a garage. And he has clearly already stated that this is gonna be a garage. So,
What does he need to do?
what,
to-
I mean, my opinion, it's done answered that the appeal, there is no appeal. He said it's a garage. So,
Well, actually, I personally.
You would
think it
uphold the
would look
decision.
better-
This
it would look
item is-
better- It would look better finished in as a garage. Personally, I think it would. But I don't think we should
but
do
that's not
that.
what we're here for tonight. What we're here for is either uphold the decision of the building official or not. If you uphold if you uphold the decision of the building official, then that means he's gonna have to make another submission to clear this matter up, which he can work with staff on, or he's gonna have to tear it down.
That's right.
Okay, but his driveway permit still stands, whichever way
Yeah,
he
it's
goes?
a separate permit. I mean, he can have a
Yes.
driveway.
Okay, okay.
Or can he not withdraw his request for tonight and submit a separate request, a new request for a garage?
I think that the applicant can withdraw, let me look at our rules here. I mean, that would just, if he withdraws his appeal, I mean, it would just reinstate the decision of the codes enforcer and the stop work order. Yeah, an applicant may withdraw an application after notice and hearing has been given, and before a vote to approve or deny the application is taken once as a matter of right. So this gentleman, if he so choose, could just withdraw his appeal, and it would just, he wouldn't be able to appeal it again. It would just reinstate the codes enforcer's already, the decision he's already made that it's a carport and that he can't continue working on it, he'd have to tear it down. And he could work with staff if he's gonna submit a new variance application before you to do this garage and get approval to do it then he can move that way if he so chooses. But that's on the applicant. That's not, this board doesn't have to do anything regarding that.
Randolph, does he need any other special permits to go ahead? If we gave him permission to do a garage, does he need any other special building inspections,
I mean,
permits?
You know, the setback was, the variance that he applied for initially was to
Carport.
exceed the setbacks by approximately 5 feet for a carport. He would, in essence, be in violation of the variance that was granted because he's building a garage instead of a carport. So all that would be a wash, in my opinion. He would need to come back and apply for a variance for a garage, if that's what he chooses to do, to build a garage. Then it would be up to this board to view that variance at that time for a garage versus a carport. I just didn't want Mr. Aldano to be faced with,
Tearing it
you
down?
know, somebody driving along and saying, how come this is a garage built outside the setback lines? And it's not a carport.
It's basically for his own protection.
Yes, ma'am.
I agree that I think he needs to, and it's just me, so that you don't have any future problems. I agree that you need to just let this go and come back with next month and get with him and ask for a variance for a garage where this is. with
Do
the
you
same-
understand what they're saying?
Yeah, I understand, but I already got the driveway and I already got the slab. I mean, pretty much that's gonna take it down and everything and,
You know,
I wouldn't take it down.
I mean,
What I would suggest to you, for you to consider, is to withdraw your request for tonight, the paperwork you submitted tonight. And then I would see Mr. Logan down the end and resubmit for it to be a garage. You might have to talk to Kyle, the city engineer there, former city engineer, or just talk to Mr. Logan down there and take care of it that way, so that the paperwork is for a garage, and that's what you're doing. But in the meantime, don't tear down what you have.
You're going to be in the same setback lines that you were already approved for. It's just the wording and everything to be legal, so you don't have any other problems in the future. If you do it this way, where you come back next month, you know I would rather see a garage there. So if you do what you're supposed to do, I know you've got my vote, but I'm just one vote. So.
yeah, I know. But when I applied the first time, there was another lady working no hand, and I showed how it's gonna look like. I mean, I don't understand.
Well, I'm sorry, but, you know, we want it to work out for you to where you don't, it doesn't cost you a lot of money to have to tear it down if you go forward. This way, you'll have the paper trail, you know, you'll have records and paper trail showing that you came back and you got it okayed. I would just suggest that you get with these guys over here tomorrow or whenever you can and get that done so you can come back next month.
I mean, I think we can call for a vote, because he's clearly still, you know,
For
as far as
now,
Kristen's saying that it was he showed her what this was gonna be, that's what he explained was a carport, so it's up to this board, in my opinion, that he still feels that this is a carport, even though he says garage, for y'all to make a decision. Do you wanna uphold the decision of the building official and say this is a garage, or do you want to say that it's a carport?
And nobody can come back later and tell them to tear it down because it wasn't a garage?
It's gonna be on this board whether or not you call this a garage or a carport, because if anybody brings it to me later on, I'm gonna say this board said it's a carport.
I just don't want to see somebody get in
Okay,
trouble later on.
okay, we're redundant.
I make a motion we deny his request and back to the board.
Okay, we
Mr.
have,
Chairman, if I could just for the.
Yes, please.
interrupt, 'cause I think I understand Mr. Goodwin's intention for his motion. Be a motion to uphold the decision of the
Yes.
codes official.
yes,
In issuing the stop work order, and that this is a garage and not a carport.
exactly.
And if any reasons that the board or Mr. Goodwin would want to give, that as to looking at it or to other, you know, his admission even, to form the basis of the motion would be good.
Okay. You want to restate your motion?
Make a motion we revert back to the board,
Uphold,
uphold the board, deny his request and go back to the board.
okay. The motion is to uphold the city codes inspector's decision that it's a garage and not a carport. And do I hear a second?
I
Second.
would like some verbiage in there if we could.
I'll take the second, and we'll discuss it now, Chairman. Let's keep it orderly.
Okay, it's seconded, and the discussion is that he is going to reapply, as his, the onus is on him to reapply to pursue that being a garage instead of a carport. Okay, all those in favor of the motions?
Can we put a time frame? I mean, I don't think,
The time frame is his.
Yeah.
so he could let this sit there for another 2 years?
Well, that would be a question for the codes official. I understand if there's a stop work order in place, I think the code official, do you have authority to tell him to tear it down? I mean,
No, not really.
okay. I'm not sure that that's.
I mean, the
before
permit will ultimately expire at some point if it's, if it's not completed within 180 days of
Okay.
the last inspection, that permit would expire. At that
Right.
point in time, then it would be either, complete the project or tear it down. In this case, it wouldn't be that you could complete it because there is a stop work order in place.
I just want to make sure the homeowner understands. It's not like an unlimited
Best
time
interest
frame.
to act immediately to get the project back in the full swing of things. And by doing so, he would need to come back before this board and ask for a variance of the setback for a garage versus a carport.
You
Okay,
understand that, sir? To come back to codes and let them help you redo your request? We're trying to help you, okay?
okay. All those in favor?
Before
Mr.
we
Logan?
vote, just to clarify, since this is fairly complicated, will he owe the city another $100 fee?
I don't think he should.
To reapply.
There's some confusion.
Yes, it's a new request.
It's new request.
Okay.
Okay. We'll take a vote now. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's unanimous. Okay, now we're starting new business. We're running a little late tonight. Special exception to allow a church requested by Father Cherubim Kelly, property located at 181 Cherokee Drive, density residential zoning district, property owned by Archangel Michael Coptic Orthodox Church. May we have your report, please, Mr. Logan?
Thank you. The applicant is requesting approval of a special exception to locate a church and church uses on a separate lot adjacent to the existing Coptic Christian church located on Cherokee Drive. The applicant is proposing to use this additional space for a new parking lot And at this time, it is not known if the church intends to use asphalt pavement and stripe out the additional parking lot or simply use chip and seal. Regardless of the techniques used, the city's requirement stands at 100% dustless surface. Later, if this project makes it to the site plan stage at the Planning Commission, then the technical items such as drainage, traffic circulation, location of sidewalks, and landscaping will be addressed. Thank you.
Okay. Would you take the podium, please? Sir, it's a matter of procedure. Would you mind raising your right hand, please? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. Would you state your name and address, please?
Father Cherubim Khalil, 173 Cherokee Drive, Laverne, Tennessee, 37086.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
You heard the report. Do you have anything to add, please?
Yes, we applied for the project of the parking lot like maybe 3 or 4 months ago, and was under the agreement to agree with the neighbors about the approval of building up the parking lot. We met with them almost 2 months ago or a month and a half ago. They agreed that we merge the both lands, the church and the lot together, so we'll be able to do as a one unit instead of rezoning of the commercial. And this is one of the things I requested as well. I don't have to have it as a commercial area. We worked out with the neighbors and they requested to do it as a one lot under the 173 Cherokee. So it can be, for future, we can do the parking lot and do if we need any building or something, they said it's okay with us. They're okay with them, I'm sorry. So when I talked to Logan and Mr. Logan and Mr. Randolph, we talk about that we have to go for proposal first to do the merge, then resubmit the plan we had. We had a plan already we showed last time. It's a paving and it has everything. It's a full plan submitted by engineer and has the, what they call it, between the elevation and everything. And that's basically all.
Okay, thanks, sir.
You're welcome.
Any question by the board members?
Where are your church members parking now, and how many church members and cars do you have, and how many days a week?
Because of the low capacity of the parking lot now, they use 2 different park. We have 2 different sides of the church. They park on the street, and this is one of the problems we had last time we talked, and we're trying to ease the traffic, and we requested this parking lot so they ease traffic out of the street. They parked on the street a couple of times. We have the 2 houses in front of stores. We are allowed to park on them. It belongs actually as a property for the church. So we're using these 2 houses, and we're using the 2 parking lot belongs to the church, and we're using the street sometimes. I'm not allowing them to use the street, but because of the overcapacity, when they come late, they find no place, so they park on the street.
Are they parking in other people's driveways and yards?
It happened last Sunday. It's a mistake. A couple of people came from different places, and they just didn't know which house and they went in. I do apologize for the neighbor for that, but it was just an honest mistake. It wasn't meant to do.
Okay.
So a question for me, is the 181 Cherokee Drive, is that the existing church or one with the blue line around it?
No, the forest one, the one with the trees. This is 181.
Okay. So the proposed area, so that is owned by the church?
This is what, I'm sorry?
Is it owned by the church? Who owns the property?
Yes, we do.
You own the
Yes.
Okay. Okay. What's on the parking lot? What size parking lot do you intend to build?
If I'm not mistaken, if my memory doesn't, I remember I think it was like over 200 spot, or it was like maybe 170 to 200 or something.
Okay, so obviously a large area.
Yeah, it is. It is. It should ease all the traffic on the street and around the church.
So which way would the water flow off the car parking area?
Actually, I don't know if you have the design for the submit of the plan, engineering plan. So to put the trees on the street of Cherokee is still, it's covering. We don't have any exit or entrance except the existed one. But it's gonna come up because this lot is going to, I think if I'm not mistaken, JFK. So the traffic will go between the Cherokee and JFK, so it doesn't have to be all from Cherokee Drive. But the barrier, the trees in the front by Cherokee, is gonna stay the same, so it doesn't show the parking lot behind it.
And there's a reason why you don't want to come out on JFK to ease the traffic?
It's not. It is not. It's a very hard to, because we're gonna have a parking lot inside and the other side, and it's gonna be out from the side. It doesn't. I don't remember exactly the plan, but I think that it has a tiny entrance and out, in and out from the JFK.
Because obviously Cherokee Drive is can be a very busy road, and that curve. So looking at, obviously all we have is to look at this drawing. Where would you put the exit onto Cherokee Drive?
The same. We're not putting any.
No.
The same one we had. The same one we keep. We're not opening another one in Cherokee from the other parking lot. So.
Can you connect the existing parking area you have behind the church over to this land to where the parking will be?
I think we connect them, if I'm not mistaken, we connect them, both of them, but for the ease of the traffic to go in and out, I think we need to use both entrance and exit.
So you would actually be able to use the church parking lot that is in existence
Yeah, yes, yes,
to enter this area plus JFK?
yes.
Okay. And how much was the paved area gonna be?
How much is what, I'm
Square
sorry?
footage of the paved area?
I think, if I'm not mistaken, 2 acres, I think.
2 acres paved?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not sure if we can pull back to the plan or something, or, but I think it was 2 acres. Yeah, the whole lot is 6 acres. I think we're using first phase on like 2 acres, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Do you know approximately how many parking lots that would be?
I think 173 to 200, if I'm not mistaken.
All right, thank you.
So you have 2 acres out of 6,
I think
You
so.
think?
I'm not positive of the
That's
numbers,
like
but it's very close. Yeah.
30-something%.
Yes.
And you do propose a second ingress egress on JFK?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Pretty much. Yeah. Sure. I didn't review the plan because I didn't expect that we gonna discuss this plan, but I'm pretty much sure, like 75%, this is the way it is.
Any other questions?
Has anybody objected to what you're doing in the area?
So far, we met with the neighbors, and I don't think this is actually their request, and we trying to solve it out. So last time when we submit the plan, they requested that we meet with them, and we met with them, and this is what they requested, and we follow it. They said you merge it. The whole thing they want to make sure is not going to be rezoning to commercial, which is not my intent to do it. Only thing I need the parking lot, so it doesn't matter if it's commercial or not commercial. So we agreed there's not going to be a commercial, so we're going to merge it so they can be able to approve that we do anything like a parking lot or building or something.
Okay.
We're not going for as we agreed with them, we're not going for modular building. Okay. So we're not going for modular building, for a second modular building, we'll withdraw this out.
Okay. Was there any other people that had called in or objected to any of this?
I've had calls about the rezoning sign
But nobody.
because we
objected to?
decided to leave it up until we knew the final result. So just people that have inquired about the zoning, and I've explained to them that they're coming tonight to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So no, I would say no phone calls for or against.
And nobody's come today?
They
tonight?
came, but I think they agreed with what he said, right?
Can we ask them a couple of questions,
Sure.
if you don't mind?
No, not at all.
I have pictures.
Excuse me.
My name is Shirley Winfrey.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God.
do.
State your name and address for the record, please.
Shirley Winfrey, 170 Cherokee Drive, Laverne, Tennessee.
Thank you.
We've had problems of them parking on our property, and they own the houses adjacent to me. And we met with the father, And we asked them why they were going to change this to a C1. That was our main concern. And someone had advised him to do that. So our main concern is we don't want a C1 joining an R1. So he's asked to withdraw that, the way I understand it, the C1 request. So we're all right with it. We need more parking up there. It's really handicapped the church and it's handicapped the neighbors because they've had to park on our property.
Okay, so you heard what the father has said, and you've heard the report. Are you in agreement with everything that you've heard here?
Yes, I understand he's not asking for a C1, and we are happy
We don't
with
have the
that.
power to make it a C1 anyhow.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much. Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the
Yes,
truth, so
sir.
help you God? Okay, state your name and address.
Mike Cooper, 125 Cherokee Drive.
Okay,
I understand it needs more parking because they're parking out in the street and all. But when it gets more parking, there's gonna be more people. Then he's gonna need to add on. He's gonna need to add on to the church. And there will be again. Same problem we're having now. He needs to just buy out the whole neighborhood. He can do what he wants to then.
So a couple of questions for the father. One, if we stand back up, please. Oh, sorry.
I got one more person.
One more coming. Sorry.
would you raise your right hand? You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you
I
God?
do.
State your name and address, please.
My name is Pam Rader. I live at 166 Cherokee, and I was part of the "we" that met with the father.
All right?
And we did discuss this, and it is okay. I understand they need the additional parking. I'm okay with that, and I understand that the drainage, the storm runoff will be handled as he goes forward through the Planning Commission. So that won't be a problem. We have no problem with them receiving a variance to put a parking lot on this property. My husband said that all they needed to do was have it replatted, joining the two pieces of property into one, 173 to 181 Cherokee. All they would have to do is have a survey run and plat it all together. And then they would be able to have enough parking and do with it what they need to. I'm okay.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
That's some questions for father, if I could. Oh, sorry, another somebody else at the back. Sorry.
Swear to tell the truth, whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, sir.
State your name and address, please.
I'm Kerry Welch. I'm at 186 Cherokee Drive, right across the street from the church. Both me and my wife were both workaholics, and we're having problems with drainage and everything already from the church. And we needed, I more or less come here, more or less, this is the first time I've been able to, it took me almost 2 hours to get here. Sorry about it. I'm still in a rush. To get here, I'm more or less seeking information on how this is going to affect our property since we're right here, right across the street from the church, as well as what can we do about the storage because it's affecting our basement and everything else. And it's to the point where sometimes we can't even pull out of our driveway because of the vehicles on the side of the street. And we don't get a chance to be able to get the right proper city offices in time because of our schedules and stuff. What can we do, or what to be able to find out what the impact is?
Okay, as I understand it, this will go to Planning Commission.
Right.
And Planning Commission meets next, by the way, the chairman is sitting right over there. In order for it to pass the Planning Commission, they will take under advisement and they will consider all that as far as the water, where it's drainage, and they'll take care of all that. That's part of what their job is, and the site preparation and all that. And they will ensure that there's proper drainage.
And like I said, I mean, But this is the first time I had to say something, I had to do something, so I apologize.
Anytime you have, don't apologize. Anytime you have an opportunity, there's questions on your mind, always come to the city and ask questions.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Father?
I'm ready to make a motion unless y'all want.
I have a couple more questions, Father.
Sure.
Is your intent to keep it R1?
The name for me doesn't matter. All what I need, what fits the church congregation. R1C, it doesn't matter. For me, all what I need, the permission to get the parking lot done so I can ease the traffic and people actually not having a hard time to park, they can find a spot to park easily. So
Knowing and listening to the residents and knowing the street, and knowing that you're going to grow,
yes.
Would you have a problem within the motion that when you build other permanent buildings, that you'll put a driveway out onto JFK? Is that an issue for you?
I don't know how we're gonna work, but I'll try. Yeah, I can.
Well, I'm just one is, as you get bigger, we want to obviously minimise the traffic onto Cherokee. As you've heard from the residents, it obviously is a problem. Putting the car park on there obviously relieves people getting parked on their driveways and on the street. However, I know you're going to grow. You know you're going to grow. And I would just like to get some commitment from you that if you start building permanent buildings, that you then at some point in time access onto JFK, so your congregation has a chance to go two different directions.
Okay, I will try to do that, but I can say it can be a different plans as well. I can have it next to me, but I close the entrance from Cherokee and open the JFK. It's gonna take times to the people to understand that we have a different, to get used to the different exit and entrance from the JFK. I don't mind, but even if we have a building and permanent building gonna be next to our building and I have to close Cherokee, I'll do that. I don't know how it's gonna work, but I think it's not a problem.
Okay.
Sir, if you're going to be merging the two properties, and you're going to be using the existing parking lot where the church is now, could you not, like, where you're going to join them, you couldn't put like little signs there?
It says
And
on
then-
the plan, ma'am.
Okay.
It says there is a in and out from between the two lots.
Okay, and that could probably help direct some of your people when they come.
Yes.
And you could probably maybe do flyers, letting
Yeah.
them know there's going to be another exit.
Yeah, when we announce, we're gonna announce as well that we have an entrance and exit from JFK, so may ease the traffic and people will understand there is a two different entrance and exit, so we'll ease off Cherokee.
That way it'll take some of the pressure off of your neighbors a little bit.
That definitely is. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you may be seated, please. Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Chair, I'll make a motion to accept the special exception to allow a church at the address 181 Cherokee Drive.
I second the motion.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the petition. We'll have a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed? It's approved. Thank you. Thank you so much. I would like to offer my apologies to the Planning Commission. I hope you get through sometime this evening. Our next order of new business is a special exception to allow an additional dwelling on the lot zone for single-family residential development requested by Deborah and Barry Hardy. Property located at 1712 Newport Place, single-family zoning district, parcel owned by Deborah Hardy. May we have the report, please, Mr. Logan?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, number 4, we skipped number 4.
Oh, okay, we'll go to number 4, special exception to allow automobile repair requested by Mitch Wilson and F.E. Jennings. Property located at 5130 Murfreesboro Road. Highway Service District C2 owned by Mitchell Whiston and F.E. Jennings. Thank you, Mr. Logan.
Thank you.
Have that report, please.
The applicant is currently conducting automobile repair service at their place of business located at 5130 Murfreesboro Road. The property is zoned C2, Highway Service Commercial, per section 5.053.2, C4 of the city's zoning ordinance. Automobile repair is permitted in the C2 zoning district as a special exception after being approved by the Board of Zoning Appeals. This site is the location of a former car wash, and modifications have been made to the original structure to allow additional uses. Included in the packets are several pages of accompanying information, including a copy of a building permit issued by the city. The permit mentions the addition of doors to existing bays so that they can be enclosed. Also included in the packets are copies of correspondence between the city and the applicants. And there is some history on this one as well. And there's a long, I guess it's an email from Mr. Whitson that he included in his application that's included in your packet. And I'll be happy to answer questions. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, before the board discusses, I'd like to shed a little bit of light on this matter because it is the subject of a pending city court case that's going on. And I'll just start by saying that the applicant, Mr. Whitson, and I'm not sure who else is on the application, but they have been, I guess, working with us as a city in the underlying court action. From what I understand, it's currently being leased to some tenants, and the ability of the property owners to control what sort of business the tenants are utilizing the space for has been difficult to manage. So because of that, code cited this premises, and really in these instances you don't cite the tenant because they're not owners of the property. So the property owners were cited into court for violation of city code and specifically various parts of the zoning ordinance which prohibits what they're currently using the premises for. As Mr. Logan alluded to, it used to be a car wash and then changed hands, and some bay doors I think were put on, and the city has contended in the underlying city court matter that they're using it for this auto repair and sales, or for an automobile repair shop. And in order to try and work through this issue, they have agreed to come before this board tonight, the applicant has, to seek a special exception so that their tenants can theoretically go ahead and actually use the premises for what they're currently using it for. Because as I stated, it's currently being used in violation of the ordinance, and they're here to seek permission to go ahead and use it correctly. They have worked with us, and this is really the only avenue that they can really go down on. And I can't say for certain that if this board grants their special exception, they still might be in violation of some aspect of the city code. I can't, foresee that. But this is really the avenue their only avenue to go by and seek permission from this board to get the special exception.
Yeah, and the city attorney deems it appropriate for them to appear before us for that purpose?
No, I do. Now, whether this board wants to grant it, that's within this board's discretion. If this board does not see fit that they're entitled to this special exception pursuant to our parameters that allow you to grant or deny that, that's again within this board's discretion. We have got a reset court date to, I think, October 11th or 13th, one of the two, to revisit this issue before the city judge. And if this board were to grant the exception and the codes was satisfied that they were in compliance with every other aspect of the code, we'd probably revisit the city court matter and just, deal with it then. Hopefully we could agree to make it go away because there's no longer any violation if they have this special exception.
When is the city court?
October 11th.
October 11th.
Oh, I guess I'll be there too.
That's all I have to report. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And the building official may want to add anything, but he may not.
Do we have any physical pictures of it besides that, of what it looks like as it's being operated now?
I've got a file folder full of pictures of what the use is being done now. The real issue here is that it's a change of use from a car wash to any auto repair service, however you want to define it. And with the change of use, any change of use has to go before the planning commission to be approved. And this never occurred, regardless of what they're doing there now. It was indicated to them, I think last year sometime, or even if not earlier, that in changing the use from a car wash to an auto repair service, however you want to define it, there was never a site plan brought to the city, presented to the city for for approval by either board.
Has the applicant ever appeared before this board before?
Pardon me?
Has the applicant appeared before this board before? Okay, we'll get to you in a minute. Has the applicant appeared before this board before, when applied to be a car wash or any occasion before?
I don't think so, no.
It's been a car wash
Mr.
forever.
Chairman, so let me just clarify. The car wash come through the planning commission and was approved from the planning commission to put the car wash in. But as far as I can recall, no, he's not been in front of the BOSA board, no.
Okay, good. I must be thinking of another one then.
And as Randolph was stating, that's the issue. It was approved as a car wash.
Right.
Now it is being used as auto sales and repair. And whether you say repair or service, we're not even talking about that yet. But they should have went in front of the planning commission to get their site plan approved, which they didn't do. And then on top of that, to have repair to the extent that they're having repair, they would have had to go in front of this board to get a special exception for auto repair.
Okay.
I would like to see some kind of pictures of what it actually looks like at street level, if anybody has any.
Mr. Chairman, while he's looking there, why don't you move ahead with the applicant? Let's move forward. She's going to look at the pictures. I think we're all seeing the property. Let's move forward and let's speak to the applicant. Let's get some
Okay.
questions coming.
Okay. Sir, go ahead and take the podium, please.
Mr.
Raise your right hand. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
State your name and address for the record.
My name is Lance Hartzell. I live at 3207 Manchester Pike, Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
I always like to insert a little humor where I can. You find a buyer for your truck yet?
A buyer
I
from-
saw you
yeah,
over at the
try-
City Hall a minute ago.
Yeah, you saw, that's right.
Okay.
You were picking up some drawings.
All right. Go
I manage the properties for Mr. Jennings and Mr. Whitson. Here in Laverne, they have several pieces of property. Kristen was the young lady that we went to when we were converting the car wash into this. It was the whole conversation with Kristen and all the information that she required us to have, we gave to her and done everything she asked us to do for that property to become a car lot and to have the surfaces that a car lot needs. And we went ahead and done everything that she asked us to do. We got the permits, we got the building permit to renovate the building to what it is now. We got, they were approved by Vehicle Commission Department, State of Tennessee for a car lot. They got, obviously, they've been in business, I don't know how long they have actually been in business, but it's been quite a while now. And this has come to a point now where here we are, so. I'm here to help answer any questions you might have. That's about it, besides what I just said. So.
How much parking do you have in front and on the other side of those bays? And I see the bays, I saw pictures, the bays actually close.
Yeah, there is garage doors on each bay's front and back.
How much parking do you have on each side?
Square footage or how many parking spaces?
Paved parking areas?
I wouldn't be able to answer that. I'd have to measure that. I could get that information to you. I just don't have it, but.
Is it enough
I
to
know
where
it's
all your vehicles stay on a paved surface, or?
Yes,
Okay.
all the vehicles are on paved surface, all on industrial surface. I do know that, the Tennessee Vehicle Commission approved it as a car lot, which then we have enough parking area for that, so.
Anybody want to see these?
No.
So a couple of questions. So you're managing the property.
Yeah.
And you're aware that it was zoned as C2?
Yeah, I think that's correct, yes. I don't have any of my.
No,
notes in front of
I'm
me.
just,
I'm
that's what
sorry.
that plan says,
There's
and
a
that's what
lot-
it shows.
lot
I'm
more.
just working up to it. So it's zoned C2. Obviously, just by reading our regulations, the automobile service, it's very specific because we've had this issue before.
Yeah.
Very specific of what can and can't be done.
Right.
Have you had any cars on the lot longer than 45 days?
It's not my business, sir. I'm just the property owner. I don't know
Right.
if they have or haven't. To be honest with you, I'm here to help with fact of what, you know, I can't answer if there's cars been there 45 days or not. I wouldn't be able to know that.
Well, let me ask a question. There have been.
Okay.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, we had a busy evening this evening, but I'm going to make a motion to deny the special exception for to allow automobile repair service due to our rules and regulations, specifically automobile service, what excludes what can and cannot be done. Also, in addition, regarding the parking of let me just get it here.
If I may say something.
I'm in the middle of motion, sir, please. Let's see, so we're going to go with 5053.2 of the design or the district description of what can and can't be done, and also it's page 7. It does not give a reference. Page 6 and 7 of our ordinance showing that they do automobile repair, that they're not allowed to do it in C2.
May I say anything?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. 45 days, you're asking me if there's been a car sitting on the property for more than 45 days. Is that, you know, you're referring to sales or repairs or what?
I'm referring to our ordinances, sir.
I mean,
so
just any car just sitting there? The reason why I'm asking, I just want to, I mean, I'm not trying, I just want to say, most of your car lots that I'm aware of in here at Laverne, I've seen a lot of cars sit a lot more than 45 days as well.
Is this considered a car lot or auto repair?
It's a car lot. That's what
It's a
the
car lot?
license, yes. And they do services on the automobiles that they own. That's my understanding of their business. That's what we lease it to them for.
So you're leasing the property to the
Yes.
present tenants?
Yeah, I think it's New Star Auto Sales is the name of the business.
How long has their lease been going on?
I know somebody's familiar with, we've been close to 2 years, right? 12 months? Yeah, 12, 13 months.
Is this your property or is this one you lease?
I used to co-own the property with the Whitman and Forest Inns. And before the rehab was done, they set it up for issues.
Is there,
It's got about 40 spaces over there.
I know you're good with construction, so is there anything that could be done to the property to make it a little bit more presentable?
I would say, there's things you can do as far as to, give them mask out different things or whatever, or require where they park, any repair cars to the rear or things like that, there's, options you would have on doing that.
Okay. Would something like that, if we put a few requirements on it, would that need to go before the planning commission?
Well, it would depend on what type of requirements, so I'm not really sure. And also just to,
Mr. Chairman, just the rules is we've got a motion on the floor. Let's get a second, then we do some discussion.
All right.
that's perfectly fine. So if somebody wants to second the motion, y'all can continue discussing.
All right, we have a motion on the floor to deny the request. Do we have a second?
A second.
It's been moved and seconded. Now we can have a discussion phase.
If I could, Graham, you cited a lot there, and is there any way you can just read that back for me?
Yes, because unfortunately the copying that we got does not, it references is, but let me go on page 7, automobile services, and page 6. Let me see if I can get some references here for you.
Do you have code numbers?
Yeah, I'm going to get them for you. I'm just, what was copied, it doesn't give the code numbers, but let me just pull them up here for you. So I'm referencing definitions, section 2.20 of definitions, referring to automobile repair, what lists, page 6. And additionally on page 7, it says no vehicles shall be repaired, shall remain on the premises for more than 45 days. The next, automobile services lists in items that excludes items that have been done, dismantling, rebuilding, reconditioning and salvage of automobiles. In addition, that's all I have.
And if you could, just aside from those, what basis for the denial, if you could?
The condition of the property and the vehicles on there are not meeting, in my opinion, it just looks terrible. Just looks terrible. The vehicles appear to be abandoned and some are not been worked. And just in totality, it's not suited for that area. It was designed and passed by the planning commission as a car wash, and it doesn't fit what you're trying to do.
Is there an avenue in the code to find them if they leave it on site for that length of time that we can tag the cars out or whatever, that if they leave like what you're talking about, Graham, and I've seen one or two like what you're talking about over there too. But is there an avenue in the code where they could be fined or penalized or whatever, or given, to where they have to keep their cars in a respectful manner and, some way to work with them, or are you wanting them just to put them out of business completely?
As far as the code side, I have to defer to the codes director. I just don't feel at the moment, and you know the property very well. I'm just very disappointed in the business in there, the way they handle their business. Mm-hmm. It hasn't got any better, it's got worse. We like to have team members in the citizens of Laverne, be part of the community, and it appears with that lot that's just not happening. It just appears to be just doing business to do business and not caring about anybody else and their neighbours as well as the citizens of Laverne.
Is there any adjustments they could make to where it would may be acceptable to this committee? Is there any kind of adjustments that you could think of that would make it to where the appearance was okay?
I would, if it was up to me, I would want it to have a better appearance. I would want the cars to be in parking spaces of some sort, not parked in the grass. I wouldn't want debris, car parts, or any of that stuff piled up and junked up, just cleaned up, like if somebody were to drive through there, they wouldn't know what was going on other than cars were parked there, like what you see up on some of the other.
Too much visibility right now with the doors open and things like that.
Yeah, and I mean, and I like the way that they do have the opportunity to close the bays off and everything, so everything's not out in the open, but just as far as making it more aesthetic to the community, because we're trying to improve our area all up and down Murfreesboro Road.
And I've seen exactly what Graham's talking about too, but I'm just wondering if we could mandatory them, open the doors only to the rear to where it's closed to the front, where you don't see repairs going on, things like that.
And parking, I mean, that's the big thing. There needs to be adequate parking for all the vehicles. And so that they're not kind of junked up. And I think if it was more orderly, I think it would be more aesthetically pleasing.
Okay, just a moment, please. Sir?
To kind of answer the question about what they can do, ideally, first and foremost, and I'd like to refer you back to an email that was sent to Mr. Whitson back in July of 2016, indicating what needed to be done in order to change the use of that property from a car wash to a auto sales, service, and repair. Had we received a site plan from Mr. Whitson, Mr. Jennings, or whomever, at that time that site plan would have gone before the Planning Commission, and screening, parking, I don't think parking was as much an issue, but some of the things that were being done or to be done in a repair service, a repair center, would have been or could be addressed by the Planning Commission. So first and foremost, to change the use from car wash to a auto repair should have been presented a site plan to the planning commission, and then any collateral issues like screening, fencing, where they're storing their cars, where they're showing their displayed cars for sale, could have been and would have been addressed by the planning commission to the applicant, so that they would not be in the situation that they're in now with the debris, car parts, motors, transmissions, fenders, dismantled cars. It's my understanding that most of the cars there are salvage title anyway. And it's my understanding that New Star is buying these cars at auction, bringing them to this site and dismantling these automobiles on site and keeping what they need to keep and selling what they can sell. So first and foremost, in order for them to be even doing what they're doing, first and foremost, they need to have come before the planning commission with a site plan to address these types of issues that you're having to deal with now.
Is there any reason why that wasn't done?
I don't know. Mitch is not here, of course. Lance is kind of lost, so that's why I stepped up here.
I'm going to close the discussion phase now. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm going to close the discussion phase now, and we're going to take a vote on the motion.
Mr. Chairman, just real quick, if I may, and I know that we're about to take a vote on a motion and probably want to do a roll call vote for this.
All right.
But just understand, and I'll defer to Kyle and Bo to check me on this, but if the board were to ultimately grant this special exception, the applicant, the property owner would still have to come back and have a site plan for this building that conforms with the special exception that's been granted. I mean, for an auto repair shop.
Yes, if they grant
And
auto
so
repair.
it is conceivable that if the board is inclined to grant it, that it could do so, we could defer it, or it could be contingent upon a planning commission approving of a proper site plan, which under our ordinance, you can ensure compliance. That's one of them under section 8. Let me get it here. 8.060, that you can ensure where applicable that all items required on a site plan or preliminary or final plat according to the submittal are met. I know that this board doesn't really like making things contingent upon other things, so I just wanted to put that out there in case this current motion doesn't pass. That is an option. That all of these things that you brought up can be addressed via a proper site plan, which the applicant will have to come back for if a special exception is granted.
So it would be almost like a temporary thing until they can get before the planning commission?
Well, it wouldn't be issued, that's correct. I guess you could make it contingent upon approval of a site plan by the planning commission.
Okay.
We have the option, then you can amend your motion, or we can go ahead and take a vote. Does everybody understand what the council has stated?
Yes.
And you can vote accordingly?
Yeah, if the board just wants to vote on the current motion to deny it and see what happens, that's fine. Alternatively, the movement, Graham, you can move to amend and state your amendment, which have to, again, get seconded.
Of course, we can also vote on it, and if it got denied, they can also come back to the planning commission and try and apply to make sure they meet the requirements as well.
That's correct. You can't hold me to this, but I'm not sure of the time frame. If you deny their special exception, that they have to wait a certain period of time to come back and resubmit for a special exception, which they ultimately would have to get. I don't know if that's a...
Well, the special exception would just be for the automobile repair. That's the portion we're looking at. The sales and the service is something that you're gonna have planning commission no matter what we do tonight. And that's kind of why he cited in the court, is that never took place.
Right.
So I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, Graham, but it sounded like you said it just doesn't fit there. If he feels like it doesn't fit there, then he made the motion to deny this use because he doesn't think automobile repair needs to be in this area. If that's the case, then the board can, y'all should vote on that if that's the way y'all feel. Then the only thing the applicant can do then, since he has been denied on automobile repair, would be to come in to do a site plan like he's going to have to do anyway.
Yep.
But he's going to have to limit his services to car sales and service as it is listed in the zoning ordinance, and not repair.
That's right. I echo what he said. That's right.
Michelle, I want to keep my motion as stated. I mean, I would like to work them from a clean sheet, and that's the reason why I'm asking that. Is okay, if the vote went to deny it, they still have options that they can do to come back to other boards to get it to meet the requirements of the codes and regulations that we have.
Okay, we'll take a voice vote right now. Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
I vote aye.
Aye.
No.
It's 4-1. The denial is approved. Okay, let's see where we're at here. Number 5. Yes, I'm just looking for the paperwork for it.
Thank you.
Okay, we're on number 5. Special exception to allow additional dwelling on lot zone for single-family residential development requested by Deborah and Barry Hardy. Property located at 1712 Newport Place, residential single-family zoning district, parcel owned by Deborah Hardy. Mr. Logan, please.
Thank you. This applicant came to my office about a month ago, it's been, and we had a conversation that day, and he explained to me his dilemma, and we had a good conversation, and I advised him that I could not offer an easy answer as he lives on a single-family lot that has essentially 2 dwellings on it. It has a primary residence, and then it has a some type of apartment or secondary dwelling unit in the yard, and it's apparently been there a long time. He did come back. I told him about the application process. He did all that, and he paid the fee, and when I look down to examine it, you really can't say that it's a variance request, because a variance request by definition is tied to some issue with the property. It's either too little, it's too narrow, it's too something. There's none of that in this case. The other part would be a special exception, and there's nowhere in the ordinance in Laverne that allows a secondary residential dwelling unit on a single-family lot. So, and I think what made it unusual is he approached the city, I think, and I'll let him explain that when he comes up, but I think there's some banking or lending paperwork that needs to be done, and there's no records that can be found of this happening. So the plat that was submitted in your packet is dated 1998, so I guess next year would be 20 years since this section of this subdivision was developed. And that's, I think he would be great to explain the rest of it, so thank you.
What's the name of the subdivision?
Hampton Road.
Hampton Roads.
That's a fairly new subdivision. When was it built?
Is the individual here? Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
State your name and address, please, for the record.
Barry Hardy, 1712 Newport Place, Laverne.
All right. You heard the report. Anything you want to add?
When we purchased the property, this building existed, and there was an apartment in the building upstairs that was being rented at the time. And the downstairs was a garage and workshop that the owner had. This was the original home on the, what is now Hampton Roads. Mr. Lafferty owned it and owned all that farmland that was there. So when we bought the property, we allowed the person that was living up there to stay as long as they needed to. We redid the lower part so that we could have a place for my mom and dad to live. We needed a place that we keep an eye on them. We now use it more or less as kind of a guest home when we have people that are either traveling through or here for the summer for whatever internships. We allow them to stay in the apartment. We have a couple upstairs right now that has some health issues, so they have limited income, so it's hard for them to go find an apartment to rent. So they pay us to help with utilities on that. And then downstairs right now we have a young man that is here from Arizona that is looking for work. And our problem is we went to refinance and found out that that house doesn't really exist, and the appraisers couldn't do anything. So it's like, okay, what do we need to do, or what can we do to make this right and make it work? So,
Legal.
Yeah, legal, exactly.
So nobody ever went and before planning commission and had this built? They just built it?
That I don't know. That was existing when we bought the property.
Good question, sir. Do you know the lot number you're referring to? We're looking at your plat here. You know what lot number? We got your address, but do you know what lot number is? Or
No,
could
sorry,
you come forward and just point out which one it
Sure.
is? Because we're just trying to, everyone's looking at it and no one gets an idea. So if you can.
Okay, we're right here.
Okay. So lot 21.
21.
21. Okay, that's great. Thank you.
20 or 21?
21.
21.
So is this the little house?
Oh, yeah. Pretty good size.
The year you bought the house, when was that?
2001, I believe.
Okay. Did they not notice the appraiser? Did you get a loan?
Yes,
Did the appraiser notice the house was back there?
yes.
He didn't make any kind of statement as to it was not permitted or anything?
No.
What about, and when you bought the house, I'm not trying to get personal, you used a real estate agent?
Yes,
And the person selling it had a real estate agent?
yes.
Did anybody indicate anything about that house being permitted or
No,
anything?
no.
So you don't even know how it came into existence or when it was
Correct.
built?
I know that the apartment originally was built for Mr. Lafferty's son, because he didn't want to live in the main house, so they built this apartment for him. What it was before that time, I do not know.
Who told you it was grandfathered in?
Mr. Lafferty.
I'm not sure how it could be grandfathered in. Would you know why, how, or why they would?
I have no clue.
I don't see
know.
how it could meet that.
I know as much as you guys do about this.
Okay, yeah, I just don't know how it could meet that, but, how many square feet is it?
I think it says on the 3,600, 3,500, that building itself, roughly 2,400, upstairs and downstairs, yeah,
It's a pretty sizable building.
right.
How'd they slip that by the city?
And I may be off, I've never had it actually measured, but the
What
apartment
size-
upstairs has 2 bedrooms, bath, kitchen, eating area, and a living room.
What size is the entire lot?
Just shy of 2 acres.
It looks like your lot's the largest one in the entire area.
Right.
Do you know of any other property out there that has a similar situation?
No, that's another problem the appraiser's having, is finding comps to go along with this property.
Is it an FHA appraiser?
Yes.
Sometimes
I
they
think.
have an issue, they'll have an issue if there's a codes violation on the property. Could be, it could happen. You don't even know if electrical permits or plumbing permits or any of those were pulled? Have you tried to check to find records?
Okay,
to
that
see?
on that, when we had the downstairs, we were brand new at this, didn't even know what we were doing. When we did the downstairs, Mr. Lafferty, first of all, was a contractor. He built a lot of homes here in Laverne. I'm sure, I don't know if he would pull permits for the upstairs or not. But downstairs, when we had the renovation done, we hired a gentleman to do that. We just turned everything over to him and thought everything was being done. Again, we had never done this kind of thing before. We have since found out that we can find no records of any kind of
permit. I know there was somebody that came, because I was there that day, came and inspected both the electrical and plumbing work, but as far as there being a permit or anything, there is no record of that.
Are our permits, our electrical permits, are they pulled out of Murfreesboro, or are we doing them in Murfreesboro? Did we have, y'all didn't have any access to any of those, did you?
I'm sorry?
Did y'all have, in your office, did y'all have any access to any, see where any electrical
I
permits?
found no records of any kind on this property. And he says that an inspector went out. It may have been a home inspector, but it was not a building inspector.
Okay. I'm finished, thank you.
Is there one electric meter or two?
There is one for that building. There's two, one for our house and one for that house.
Oh, there is two.
The water is, there's only one water meter for both buildings. And two separate septic systems.
Any other questions?
Hope, I do. I hope I don't repeat myself. What kind of loan did you get when you purchased the house? Was it FHA, conventional?
I do not remember.
Do you
We
remember,
my
did you have to
wife
do
was-
like 20% down, or
Yes, we did do that,
you did?
yeah.
Probably conventional. Okay, so they're not as strict.
This was our first time to ever buy a home, so again, we were just kind of listening to our agent and did whatever they said to do.
Well,
And
conventionals are good, it's just they're just not as
Right.
strict, the appraiser's not.
Right.
That's why I was asking, because I couldn't figure out if it was FHA, why they didn't catch that, because I'm sure if you tried to sell it now and you had an FHA buyer, they'd probably catch that.
Right. Which is, again, a reason we're coming, because we want to make sure that if we ever do decide to move, that, or if, when we pass, our kids don't have a problem with it. So we want to get everything straightened out and legalized for that.
Any other questions?
No.
I'll entertain a motion.
I just want to just cut a couple more questions, Mr. Chairman. Just
Sure.
so I'm gonna- So how long have you lived there?
16 years.
16 years, and we have two. I mean, we don't see this very often. I mean, we don't, and I understand the building official, because obviously we're meant to be, one lot, one house. But with this predicament we have, we have to sometimes, I think, bring some common sense. So I would go the motion of approving a special exception to allow the additional dwelling on the lot.
I'll second
Without any additional inspections? Make sure everything's up to code? That's what worries me.
In the discussion phase of that motion, first of all, if he hadn't made the motion, I would have. I agree with it, and what we're doing is approving to have a second building on the lot. It would be up for the codes to go out there and make an inspection and make sure that it's up to codes and cite violations. If not, all we're doing is saying, if the vote passes, that it's okay to have that house there. And with that, I'll take a voice vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those in favor, aye. Those opposed? I hear it.
Going to refrain from voting on this.
One abstention and 4 ayes. It passes. You're legal.
Very good, thank you.
If I were you, I would make an appointment with codes just to be for the safety of the people that are dwelling.
Good.
All right?
All right, very good.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, the last item of business is sign variance, United Parcel Service requested by Chris Combs property located at 7013 Centerpoint Drive, heavy industrial zoning, parcel owned by Centerpoint Holdings Building A LLC and Care Panatone Development. May we have that report, Mr. Logan, please?
Thank you. On behalf of UPS, Chris Combs is requesting a sign package variance to allow for installation of corporate signage at the facility that was recently constructed at 7013 Centerpoint Drive. This sign request, variance request package includes a total of 3 wall signs on the same building, and currently the code allows 1 wall sign per unit, or in this case, 1 wall sign per building, because the unit and the building are the same. This property is zoned I-2 heavy industrial. Also, the sign ordinance in the zoning code allows industrial sites to have 1 monument sign up to 100 square feet in area per building and 1 monument sign per entrance. There is no variance needed for the monument signs that are included in your package. Additionally, industrial sites are limited to 2 directional signs of up to 2 square feet each, and these signs must be located at driveway entrances. For this request, a variance is needed to allow a 3rd directional sign, and actually, that should say a 4th directional sign. So they're allowed 2 by code. They want a total of 4. And the variance would also be needed to allow the placement of the signs at a location that is different than the driveway entrance. As these, you'll see in your diagram, they've marked those clearly. They're not at the entrance of the drives. They're up at the building, so they wouldn't meet the ordinance by their location. So if you'll look in the exhibits, please, sign 6 is 3 parking signs. Those are the 3 directional signs. And then sign number 8 is a shipping and receiving sign. So those 3 plus 1 are the 4 directional signs that need the variance. And then, as mentioned in the first part of the report, they get 1 wall sign and they are requesting 3. And those are shown on sign number 3, sign number 2, and sign number 7 is the 3rd wall sign. And they went ahead and included the window signs, which are specifically called out. I checked again this afternoon, the zoning ordinance. Wall signs are not regulated by City of Laverne, they're exempt. So, but they put all these together, so just don't be confused by the window signs. And I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Do we have a representative here? Raise your right hand, please. You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
Yes, sir.
State your name and address, please, for the record.
Chris Combs, 100 Mingle Lane, Smyrna, Tennessee.
Thank you. You heard the report. You have any comments to add, change?
Just that this is a nationwide package that UPS has for their hubs like this. It's really a minimal package per the size of their building, which is actually almost 10 acres under roof. So, I mean, I think maybe I would hope that this board could see that that is a massive building, and the extra signs that would be needed for an area this size would basically help the public and the truck drivers who are trying to find their destination in this hub.
Okay. Board members have any questions?
On the 3 wall signs, they're all going to be the same dimension, the 72 by 60? They're all going to be the same?
They're actually, the 2 shields are 30 square feet each. And then the smaller customer entrance and the smaller shield would be not much more than like 11 or 12 additional square feet, which would put us well under the 100 square foot requirement for wall signage.
We've got a lot of information here, but basically the 2 wall signs you're referring to, they're going to be on each corner of the building as you drive up the building.
Yes, sir. They've been on different entrances.
Okay. we've got this document in front of us you're familiar with.
Yes, sir.
So those ones I'm looking at, are they number 1 and 2?
They
Or
would be number 2 and number 3.
3, okay. So from number 1, I'm just looking at the sheet.
That would be the monument sign.
That's the monument signs.
Yes,
okay.
sir.
Okay. And then the 4 is a monument sign too?
4, let me come back here and.
I'm just looking at
4.
page 12 or 13. That's what we're looking at, just going through the
I'm
list.
sorry, I've got 4 mixed up here. I think 4 is just a window decal that Mr. Logan had said was
Okay.
of non-issue.
Just run through the list. And number 5, I'm just trying to validate where we're at. So number 5, is that, that's looking at the front of the building. What's going to go there?
Number 5 is just the store hours.
Store hours, okay. 6 is the entrance? Yes, the entrance.
Sign 6 is just a parking sign to let the customers know where to park.
We know what 7 is. What about number 8?
Sign number 8 is a directional sign for the trucks.
Okay.
And then, you know, it gives directionals for where employees would park as well. And then the shipping and receiving.
And so you're not having any lollipop signs, the one standing out by itself? You doing one of those or not? No.
No, sir.
So all these are either attached to the building or on the property, giving direction for the drivers or the customers?
Yes, sir.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion?
I make a motion to approve the signs.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve this petition. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And I know the planning commission would like to hear these next words. Since there is no more further business, we stand adjourned.